What is going on, Colorado sports, soccer, and all of the above fans? This is your host, Baylor, and Alex coming back with another episode of Club and Country where we discuss the Colorado Rapids and the Colorado Bucks. Today we have a very special episode as we have a live interview with the head coach of the Colorado Bucks. So that'll be coming at 4:15 in about 9 minutes. So be sure to stick around for that. But for starters, Alex, how's it going?
I'm doing great, man. I'm happy to be back here for the second edition of Club and Country. Excited to get talking with the head coach for the Bucks, Coach Chapleski. I think I botched that. My
I don't
apologies.
know if it's a ch or a sh, like a Chapelski or Chapelski.
It'll be one of the first questions we ask for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, yeah, man, and I'm excited to get into it. We've seen a lot going on with the Bucks since our last episode. We really only had the one game that we kind of reviewed, and then we were looking forward to a couple more games. Those games have come in. We've also seen a lot of other teams start to play within the league, so we're starting to really get into the swing of things and starting to see some of these other teams play. So I'm excited to get into it. We've got some really interesting stuff.
Yeah, I know I didn't get a chance to watch those games live given they were over this past weekend and on back-to-back nights. I was personally busy, but fortunately have all of those replays over at mlis.com. mlispro.com is the website. But it's nice because you can watch those replays, and that's exactly what Alex and I did. We were able to sit down and break it all down, watch it over and over and over, the parts that we liked, the parts we didn't like, and yeah, we had a lot to say. So I'm really excited to jump into it. We've got some clips to show you guys today, and of course we'll give the coach as much of the floor as we can when he's on, and do our best to react to what he had to say once the interview is over. So, just talking briefly about the two games that we did watch. Both of them, once again, against Omaha, and both of them, once again, ended with losses. First game was really, really rough. Didn't look like got down really big, really early, and just kind of couldn't recover from it and almost accepted their fate. The second game, they definitely showed a lot of fight, showed a lot of grit, and didn't give up. Still ended in a loss, but definitely a lot more to take from that second game than that first one. That first one might be a throw it in the trash type of game.
Yeah, definitely. We had talked a little bit on our home opener, and the way that Omaha kind of responded to the way that we came out. And they were kind of surprised with us. They said, most of the time we crush these teams, we crush the competition, and this time around, like the Bucks surprised them with our home opener and how we were able to compete. And we had talked about on the last show, we said, hey, this Omaha team, they were definitely good, but I think that we haven't seen their best, and I think that they're going to start to get in the swing of things. And on our trip to Omaha, they're going to come back with a vengeance. And sure enough, that second game we lost 20-6. I think the final score was. So that was a really rough game. And then we made some adjustments, and I think that's going to be the key to our success in this league is how we adapt, how we figure out how this game works, and what this fast-paced soccer environment really means, and making those adaptations day by day, coming back into it. We looked really solid. I mean, still some mistakes, still starting off slow, not really getting the kind of start that we want, and definitely not able to finish out games in that fourth quarter. But yeah, I think that there were a lot of promising things that we saw there in that third game. As we look ahead to Chicago, Chicago is going to be our next competition here in 8 days. Next Saturday at 8 p.m. at home, coming back home. So that should be a fun one. We just got our season tickets. That was not an option at the first game, but it was an option now. So on the Colorado Bucks website, They do have single game and now season tickets available. There are 5 remaining home games, so season tickets are $50. And yeah, we committed. We're in. We're in all the way.
Yeah, I'm really excited about picking up that season ticket. We'll be there live in person for the remaining 5 home games of the year. And of course, watching online as best we can. Um, when you're a professional sporting team and you lose, by such a large margin, 20-6 is one of those games where it's hard to know what to take from that game. It's one of those games where you just kind of chalk it up. You try to work on some stuff towards the end of it, but you kind of try to forget about it and move on. You don't want to be overcritical because some nights you just don't have it. And when you're playing in a professional league, you're playing against top class talent. And if you don't have it and they do, it can turn out ugly. And I'm really impressed with the response that we saw from the team the next night. That game was at no point felt out of hand. There was opportunities. There's plenty of opportunities in that game. Some good saves by Omaha and some really good play by Omaha on the other end of the ball for sure. Uh, but that game was much more entertaining to watch. It felt a lot more even. It felt competitive, and I appreciated the bounce back even on the back to nights of
Yeah, no, I agree. And your mic's doing some weird stuff. I don't know. It's kind of getting a little muffled there. Not sure what's going on, but yeah, no, I agree. We talked about the different styles of defense, and the way that we kind of adjusted in that second game to kind of marking up a little bit closer. I think we kind of compared it to zone versus man defense, like you would maybe in football. And
defending space versus defending a person.
exactly, exactly. And I think we were a lot more successful against Omaha. And that's the thing is, I think Omaha is one of those teams that's really good at exploiting that space. They're comfortable in those small environments,
Very
and
accurate passing.
yeah, yeah, and they split those gaps, and I think that it's going to be interesting to see a team like Chicago come to town, and now this is a new team. We've had 3 games, and it's all been against one team, and we've only made our adjustments around that one team. It's possible that we go back to more of that zone style for a team like Chicago. Who knows? Chicago did play against Omaha. That was a in between weekend as we were, I think, traveling. Yeah, so we played at home, and then the next weekend, Chicago versus Omaha happened, and then we went to Omaha and played them. And Chicago and Omaha went. They were tied at the end of the fourth quarter, so they went into a shootout, an instant shootout, which I assume is just the shootout. The it's like
the six foul kick.
yeah, the 6 foul free kick that we see. I think that it's just that back and forth until a winner is crowned. And Omaha scored 1 goal there. That was it. Chicago didn't score any shootout goals. Omaha only scored 1 out of 3 rounds, and that was it. So interesting to see that Chicago's this team that can go toe to toe with them, force a shootout, and we'll kind of see how we adjust to that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the Bucks against another team. It was a little tough seeing them against not only the same team 3 times in a row, but the defending champions 3 times in a row. Was that's a tough way to start the season, and I'm excited to see how they stack up against other teams in the league.
Yeah. Yeah, clearly Omaha's comfortable here. And yeah, I think they're the team to be. I think Grand Rapids, whenever we finally get around to playing them, will be a tough break. We'll see how that goes. Grand Rapids in their opener beat Lima 25-2. So if you think 20-6 is bad, Just wonder how Lima is feeling after a
Yeah.
25-2 defeat.
Well,
So
well, that goes to show you, this is a high scoring league with good players, and if you just, if you don't have it that day, it happens.
yeah,
This isn't like, wow, can they even play in this league? No, this is a brush it off, move on, and they showed that by playing the very next night.
yeah.
Now it is that time that we welcome the head coach of the Colorado Bucks to the show. Let's get these banners cleared up. All righty. Well, welcome to the show, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
We appreciate your time, and we are super excited to have you on. We have so many questions for you, but we're really going to try to just give you the floor here. Alex has definitely got our questions. My name is Baylor. It's great to meet you and have you on. But I'm going to let Alex take it from here and really just learn a little bit about you and your team.
Cool. Sounds good.
Yeah, so Coach, let's start it there. Tell me a little bit about you and how you came around to coaching the Bucks, a little bit of your background. What is important for us to know about you?
Yeah. I'm a Colorado native, so this is home for me. I was born in Boulder. I grew up in Broomfield, where I grew up playing at Broomfield High School, played at Colorado Rush for their academy team. After that, I played at the University of Denver for all 4 years of my college time, from 2010 to my last season was 13. And then I started coaching after I was done playing. I was the director of operations for the program for DU for a year, and then I got into coaching club. Went back home to Rush and coached for a couple years for them. Coached at the Rapids youth setup for a couple of years. Took about a year-long hiatus right around COVID, actually. Stepped away from the coaching for a little while to kind of reevaluate. And then I got back in to coaching in the college game. I was at Regis University with the women for a year, and I'm currently an assistant coach for the Metro State men's soccer team, as well as my position here with the Bucks. So the coaching is the college coaching is part-time. My full-time job is I run an indoor soccer facility in North Glen. Used to be called Rocky Mountain Sports Center back when I grew up playing here. Now it's called Let's Play Soccer North Glen. So yeah, a few months ago, Josh, the owner of the team, came in one day and he's just, let us know, like, hey, I'm the owner of this new pro team that I'm starting, this pro indoor team, and we're going to be based in the Thornton area, and we need a place to train. We need a place to play our games, and you guys are the closest, facility to where we're going to be based. So, I told him I can't have your games here, unfortunately, because I have games in here from 7 a.m. to midnight, Saturdays and Sundays. I said, we might, be able to work out something with training based on what days and times you're looking to train. It'll be tight, but we can maybe make something work. And then, as we kind of had more conversations and he got to understand my background a little bit more, he asked me about coaching the team. The truth is I told the whole team this too. I was initially reluctant just because I have so much else on my plate already. Running indoor is no small feat. The college coaching keeps me busy too. But as time went on, I don't know. I just felt called to coach, and to serve the team. And I think more than anything, what brought me in here was just the notion of being able to build something, from the ground up, and being able to be a part of like an inaugural season for a club that we hope to be around for a long time. I think that is a fun thing. I've done that before in other like soccer organizations I've been a part of, and it's really honorable work. It really is. So
That's awesome. I think it's great that you started with the Let's Play Soccer. That is, anybody that's played at the youth level here growing up probably had an experience with one of those facilities.
Yeah.
It's a great introduction to indoor.
Yeah.
And so you've got that background, and then it's exciting, building something from the ground up. So, you get this call and you're like, oh man, I'm going to get in there and I'm going to build this thing.
Mm-hmm.
What's the approach? As you start to build this identity with this new Bucks team. What is the goal for that as we start, this team off, and how does that apply onto the field? What does that look like in action?
Yeah, I think, we wanted to make sure that this wasn't something that was built around, okay, it's our first year. These other teams have been in here for a while. Let's go in there. Let's do our best. Let's, hope we can, just not get hammered every game. And, that's not how I'm wired, as a coach and as a competitor. And thankfully, that's not, how my players are either. We want to go in there and we want to win. We want to make a push. We don't think that because we're a new club that we need to, be acting like we're just happy to be here. We very much intend to go in there and ruffle some feathers, and get some results and cause some trouble. And I think I knew early on that I had the players to do it. I think I knew on that I had the players to do it, and that I had the personalities to do it as well. So it also became clear, what our strengths were within the group. It's a really technical group of players. It's a really technical group of players. And it's a really intentional, intelligent group of players as well. I don't think we're going to be the most athletic team out there. I don't think we're going to be the biggest and the fastest, or the strongest. Frankly, at this point, I'm not even so sure that we're going to be the fittest either. And, having a lot of legs is, sorry about that, guys.
Busy guy. It's all good.
Having a lot of legs under you is obviously really crucial in the indoor game, but, we're very being intentional about how can we maximize how much of the ball we have? How can we maximize how much of the ball we have so that we can minimize how much of the ball they have, so that we can dictate as best we can, so that we can be the protagonist of the team, so that we can be the ones, making things happen and the other team's reacting. As much as we can, we want to try and put the team on the back foot. We want to make it so that when they do have the ball, they're just relieved to not be defending anymore, and they're not even thinking about how they can try and cause those problems. They're just trying to weather the storm, so we try and be very economical with, how much of the ball we're having. We try and be very patient. We pick and choose our times to attack and be dangerous. But if it's not that time, it's important that we're mature enough to put a foot on the ball, spend some time with it, let guys join the attack, let us kind of get aware of what the spacing looks like and how we can hurt these guys. They really want to talk to me. So, with all that in mind, that's a big piece of our identity is having a lot of the ball.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this. There we go. It's still ringing. Having a lot of the ball.
You are.
Hold on, guys. Sorry.
No, all good.
Fine.
My God. Anyway, so yeah, we do want to. All right, I think we're good now. Yeah, we do want to make sure that we are having a lot of the ball. We do want to make sure that we are trying to attack as often as we can, right? We do want to try and make sure that we are an offensive-minded team. We also want to make sure that we are, doing things with the right amount of focus, and that being minimizing fouls. Right. Obviously, in indoor, minimizing your fouls is a huge piece of it because you don't want to be spending a lot of time down a player. You don't want to got to foul out. You don't want to have to give up a shootout. Another important piece of that as well is like just defending smartly and defending as a group and defending as a unit and not taking unnecessary risks. So those are pieces that are, big in who we are. And I think other than that, it's just togetherness. There's the soccer pieces that like make us who we are, but there's also like the intangibles that make us who we are, as far as playing with some bravery, and some courage, and playing with intensity, right? Intensity, but being composed and being smart in the right moments, and just being together. I want people to feel that it's a group of players that support each other and are fighting for each other, and not just guys that are out there just, doing their own thing and trying to, show off for themselves. In my experiences as a player and a coach, I really think that those intangibles are going to really get you over the line when it's really tight, when it really matters. So we're trying to foster that as best we can.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah,
I think if there's one thing we've definitely noticed, it's that sense of teamwork. I mean, we're really not
absolutely.
seeing too many individuals trying to, outshine anybody else.
Yeah.
We see them working together out there, and we see
Mhm.
those adjustments as well as you talk about, you know, finding those ways to be on the ball. You had these three really difficult games against these defending champs. I mean, this is your introduction to the league,
Yeah.
and we saw a
Baptized
little
by
bit.
fire.
Yeah, right, right. And we saw a little bit of a difference in style, especially from that second game where you guys lost 20-6. I mean, it was
Mhm.
a brutal game. Back in and bouncing back into that third game, adjusting some of that. I noticed some of those, not taking those risks and not leaving yourself susceptible to counterattack
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
they do.
Absolutely.
So, what did you learn in those three games? What did you guys learn about the league and this new format of the game and how to adjust to teams like Omaha?
Well, I think the first thing that we learned is that we're not far off, from being to compete against the best teams in the league. We did have one game where things went, pretty awry, and it got out of hand in that second game as far as the
Mhm.
score. But we were within one goal at one point in the first game against them, ended up losing by 3, and we spent most of that game within 2 or 3 goals of them in that third game. And that's
Yeah.
that's the best team in the league, and we're a brand new team. So we know that we know that we're up for it. We know that we can go to battle with just about anybody. That was the biggest thing that we learned. Um, Definitely learned about being smart about your energy. Those guys, hats off to them. More than anything, they're experienced. And they know about how quickly lines have to change over, and they know about um, being very capitalizing on their opportunities to score, capitalizing on their set pieces, namely. Um, they're very good there. So we learned about guys having shorter shifts and guys not staying on the field longer than they have to for the sake of managing their energy. Um, Learned about how crucial it is to track your players. Simply, we put ourselves behind the 8 ball early on really in all those games, I think, because guys were just caught ball watching, early on. And especially in a game like the indoor game, if you get caught ball watching and you're losing track of your guy because there's only got 5 guys on the field, that's 20% of their team that's wide open,
Right.
and you just can't afford to do it, especially against a team like Omaha with all their experience. So, um, I think you mentioned about counterattacks and transition, and you nailed it on the head there as well. Managing transition has been a really important topic for us. Um, when we're up numbers in the attack, we do want to try and capitalize on it and go, but we do need to be smart about if those attacks don't materialize, getting back straight away. Because if we're up 3v2 in their half, right, that means they're hanging out 3v2 in our half,
Right.
right? So we need to be able to make sure that we recover straight away if one of those attacks don't materialize. I think, like I said, attacking wise, being able to put a foot on the ball if it's not time to attack, if our numbers aren't good. I think sometimes we were forcing the issue a little bit, and not attacking with numbers. And as a result, the ball getting unnecessarily turned over, and now they're coming back the other way.
Mhm.
And then I think, we were taking gambles defensively as well, that we didn't have to, like trying to just win the ball straight away, instead of just taking away their time and space and just forcing their decision backwards and just, you know, taking our medicine a little bit and being okay with just spending a little bit of extra time defending for the sake of not taking unnecessary gambles defensively, if that makes sense. So, yeah, we learned a lot. I mean, we feel good about where we're at. We definitely took our lumps, especially in that second game, but I think we have a really good idea now of what we're going to be getting into each game. We have a really good idea of the stuff that makes us successful, and we have a really good idea of the stuff that unnecessarily puts us in tricky positions. So, morale this week was actually quite good in training, and training itself was good. I think we have a good grip of where we're at and who we need to continue to strive to be going forward.
Good. Good. Yeah, we really saw some of those positives translating into that third game as you guys adjusted, the defensive style, and really didn't get caught ball watching, stuck to the guy, made sure that we, didn't give them, if they did get the ball in that space, don't give them a lot of time on it. The pressure was there immediately, and we didn't feel the need to, take those risks. So absolutely, I think it's, great momentum to bring into this game against Chicago.
Mhm.
And obviously that second game, brings this up a lot, but in 3 games, you guys have allowed 43 goals. You're averaging 14, 15 goals per game.
Yep.
So what's the plan to bring that down? How are you guys adjusting and finding ways to keep that ball out of the net?
I think a big piece is going to be managing energy. I think a lot of those goals that we're giving up is just due to tired legs.
Okay.
And that just simply comes from guys staying on too long, and their shifts being too long. So I think just moving the bar a little bit from where, okay, it's time for you to get out now so another guy can get in. It doesn't have to be when you literally can't go anymore. It's got to be a bit more when I can't go as much as I'm going to need to go. You know what I mean? When it comes to defending specifically. So I think making shifts shorter, I think is going to help stop the bleeding. I think having fresher legs on defense is going to help a lot. I think, the notion of not needing to go and dive in and win the ball, as long as you're in their face and taking away time and space and you're trying to force their decisions backwards, a lot of that is covering enough of the base defensively. I think a lot of our just defensive lapses has come from just taking defensive gambles. I'm going to lunge in here and win the ball. But if that guy skates by him, now they've got a free player. They got a free player, and in indoor, that's lethal. And another big piece of it too is it's been a common theme is just ball watching. Like I'm just trying to get these guys to, at all times when we're defending, if you don't have someone in mind that you are marking, you're asleep, right? If you don't have a mark, that means you're missing it. You're missing it. So you have to always make sure you find someone. I think we've ramped up the defensive communication as well. I think that's going to be a big piece of just knowing where guys are. And if there's going to be a switch on guys, if we need to make sure this guy's being tracked, I think that's going to help, stop the bleeding a lot. So it's really just a matter of just defending in a more mature way, just with more discipline and just with more focus, and not hopeful, makeshift improvisational defending,
Yes.
Yeah. And, again, I think the reality is too, like I said, if we can maximize more of how much we have of the ball, that's minimizing how much more opportunity they have to hurt us, So in a weird way, being better in possession is going to also help us defensively.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. And we noticed, one of the big things we talked about, we would pause moments on certain goals and just say like, hey, look at our two guys that are they're both looking here. And meanwhile, this guy's wide open over here. And again, that got cleaned up pretty quick in that third game. So I think, you guys are doing a good job of adapting and figuring those things out and then just immediately applying that next step in what you're trying to do. So we're excited to see you guys come back home and face this Chicago team, a new team, something different.
Yep.
And, back at that home stadium. It was a great crowd that first game.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, really excited to see how we do in the second game.
Yeah, me too. We're really looking forward to being back at home, and having a fresh opponent will be good. And I think more than anything, we're just excited to take what we've learned in the last 3 games into another home game, because we do feel like we've evolved, in the last month. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, we really appreciate you taking the time today. Clearly very busy man. So we'll let you guys.
Sorry about that, guys. I really apologize.
No worries at all.
Fine.
We respect it. We'll let you get back to it. Thank you.
Right, cool. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks a lot, and best of luck to you. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Coach. That is Cole, head coach of the Colorado Bucks, live with Colorado Sports Connections. Wow, a lot of information there. A lot of really cool stuff going on. I loved hearing just his mindset as a coach. And I felt like he was talking about a lot of things that I've heard you talk about just as a coach.
Right.
And, I like that a lot. And some of the things we've talked about, like the fight and just wanting, believing that you can go toe to toe with anyone in this league. And having that as your fuel for every game. That's it's so great to hear that. But yeah, a lot to talk about there.
Yeah, definitely. He mentioned that he, had some time with the Rapids youth system. So wasn't surprised there, depending, like, based on the things he was talking about. It's like, oh yeah, this is some of the same stuff that we talk about, still as I'm in the Rapids youth system. So, definitely seeing a lot of that translation. Good to know that he's got that experience. I mean, right now, that Let's Play Soccer that he mentioned, that was my introduction to indoor. I'm coaching at the one in Centennial on the weekends, and I was kind of whatever, indoor, just kind of get them moving. But then the Bucks came around, and I start watching, this professional level of it, and I got hooked, man. Like, this is exciting stuff. So I've got this rejuvenated coaching vigor as I go back in to the weekends and try to tell my players about, hey man, hey, try this, these players are out here doing this. So yeah, no, really interesting stuff. Loved hearing. It's kind of a contrast from how you and I kind of approach the season, and that's what we want to hear from our coach, because we were kind of coming into it like, hey man, new team, brand new league, like,
Yeah.
what, who knows? Like, when he was saying, some teams are like, oh, let's hope we don't get blown out, and like, let's hope that we can just survive or whatever. And like, that's kind of how we were just like, as fans, yeah, man, like, I would love to see us compete. I don't expect us to go out there and start dominating, but then the coaches and the players, they're like, no, dude, like, we want to dominate. Like, let's go out there.
I mean, that comeback in the first game, I was like,
yeah,
they want to compete to this.
Yeah, so really exciting stuff. The more he talked about how the team kind of gels and less of that individuality, I think we've seen so much of that so far. Like, even we've got players like Tapia, right? We had Tapia being this early kind of breakout player. Then we've got Vasquez, Brian Vasquez, coming out. But then you've got players like Ventura Dominguez. It's the big guy. We talked about his physicality and, the way that he comes in and surprises us sometimes. Like, I feel like he's a player that people might underestimate, and he's got that footwork. We saw some of this really great stuff from him in those
coming out.
Yeah. So technically, really sound from the team. So love to see it. I love to see how they're kind of supporting each other in that capacity.
Well, and let's also keep in mind, like, this is a new team. None of these players before they came together have played together. This is a chemistry thing that's going to take growth. We were talking about while we were watching these games together, we're talking some of these passes that Omaha was making in these tiny windows that require timing, like, and trust. You have to the player with the ball has to trust that his player is going to be where he needs to be when he needs to be there. And it's the same thing for the player on the receiving end. He needs to know what to expect from that player with the ball. He needs to know what that player wants to do. And once you build that chemistry, you can start hitting those tight windows. But until then, playing safe, playing control, getting to know your team, and fighting, playing with aggression, playing with the pressure. A big thing that coach said that stuck out to me was the pace and being fit. He said we will not be the most fit team in the league, and knowing how short shifts need to be. Now, I played lacrosse in high school, and that's my only personal shift-based sport. But what I do know about hockey, it's the same thing. The goal is to give 100% effort for as long as you can, and the moment you can't give 100%, get off the ice, get off the field, whatever it is. Like, get to the bench and get legs that can do it out. That's why you have multiple lines. That's why it's not just in and out. It's not like a quick sub at a pickup game or something where you're huffing and puffing. No, like, give 100% for 30 seconds, 45 seconds, 60 seconds, really max if you're really trapped in a bad spot. Obviously don't sub when you're playing defense, but like, if you just play defense for 30 seconds, there's no reason you should be, unless you have the ball, there's no reason you should be joining in on that attack. You need to be getting to the bench and allowing fresh legs to come give that boost to that attack and keep that rotation for two reasons. A, you're going to fatigue yourself on that shift and you're not going to be able to give the effort and speed you need. B, you're going to continue to try to give the effort you need and you're going to fatigue yourself for the whole game a lot quicker doing that.
Right.
Short bursts. You cannot tire yourself out early. You have to. So that was something that really stuck out to me that I personally that maybe not noticed the fatigue and tired, but definitely something I had been trying to keep in mind and trying to watch was how quick are these guys actually changing.
Yeah, that was something that we saw in that first game was, Omaha would score and they'd switch. It didn't even matter how long they had been out there. They would just, rotate. And that was something that, they were doing pretty well. And really, I probably haven't looked into that as closely. When he talked about that, I thought, you know what? I bet that we can really start to identify some moments in those first two games of struggling in transition because the game is so fast. I mean, when we talk about those transitions and then those counterattacks, you've got to hustle. And if you can't hustle, if you're not there, you should have switched before that even happened. And so, that's a massive factor and definitely something that I'm going to keep a closer eye on as we continue on throughout the season. I'm going to try to notice if that's something that we're doing effectively.
And another thing that he was talking about that we talked about a lot when we were watching these games together was ball watching. He said that. How many times did he say ball watching? He said that was a buzzword. And he told his players, if you don't know who you're supposed to be covering, you've already missed it. You're asleep. Your play has gone by you. And something that I thought about was in tandem with that is you got to be alert on the bench, because if you can't be behind on your swaps. If somebody's coming up to get a sub and your team is rushing up the field, you're putting your team at a disadvantage if you're not aware. If you don't know, you got to know who's next, which requires constant communication on the bench, paying attention to the game, knowing who you're coming in and out for at what time, so that when you see that person heading towards the bench, you're up, you're ready to set foot on that field the second they set foot off, to make sure that it's a seamless transition. And the beauty of a bench is you can even gain, your player can teleport, because you get on one side and get off on the other.
Right.
That can be an additive for you. And that's something that that comes with communication, which is something that he absolutely talked about. Communication, pace, and just being alert, not ball watching.
Right. Yeah, that was there was a final question that I had that escaped me as we were getting to the end there, and wanted to be mindful of time anyway. But the one that came up was, I wanted to ask about the rotations, because we noticed early how quick Omaha rotated, and that makes it very unpredictable to defend as a team, right? So communicating as this guy rotates with this guy. I'm not chasing this guy all around the field. I'm not staying to one guy. I've got to switch with my teammates and communicate, hey, this guy's going your way and I'm going to pick up this guy instead, as they rotate off of each other. So interesting to see, kind of how that turned into something that they adapted and applied into that next game.
Yeah. And with just sitting in the change between the defensive styles was a big thing for me. We talked a lot about the defensive style, and when we briefly brought up the zone versus man coverage, we saw a lot in that first game. A lot of either it could have been ball watching. For all I know, it could have been, we don't want to play zone, we want to play man, and that was simply ball watching. But it felt like a lot of the team was trying to play a more protect space and protect passing lanes. But then when people get a little excited and when the ball would get close, instead of holding their ground and defending their space, that one person closest to the ball would vacate their space to cover or to put pressure on that person with the ball. And while that's happening, somebody else who isn't covered, because you're not playing a man, you're playing a zone, is going to take that space that you just vacated. And they were picking it apart. I mean, the moment people were leaving their spot, they were picked apart. Those runs were coming in. They were faking runs. They had decoy runs. They tore that zone apart, whether it was supposed to be zone or it was just ball watching or not. Whatever was going on in that first, the back to back was not it. And we saw, like you said, a much more aggressive, a much more pressure based defense, a much more up in the grill of everybody, like find your man and stick to him. Nobody left uncovered. If somebody's sprinting up the gut, you're sprinting up the gut with them. That type of pressure seemed to be a lot more effective. And not only was it effective in keeping the ball out of your own net, it was effective in getting possession, not allowing them to continue to possess the ball and wait for a good opportunity. It forced them to take opportunities they didn't necessarily want to take because you had pressure on them. You weren't giving them time to sit back and pick their corners.
Yeah. I've pulled up a clip. I didn't have any prepared beforehand, but I found it. I found the one that we were looking at. So we'll take a look at this one just so that we can see exactly what we're talking about as we watch these games. Baylor, will you throw that up for me? Okay, so we're here. This is the second game. We lose this one 20-6, but this is early, and we really wanted to focus on the early goals because once it got to like 15-5 or whatever it was, the game's basically over. Like, we're not going to harp on those goals too much. But this was a goal. This is a really great play from Torres for the Kings. But we get caught in transition. We're working our way back, and this is Torres on the ball here in white. The Bucks are in blue. You've got Ventura Dominguez on the left. I don't remember if this is Vasquez here in the center, but Vasquez does, or I'm not going to say Vasquez. This player does a good job of putting on some pressure. I mean, Torres is coming after us, puts on the pressure. He gets a little bit caught out here. We'll see. But we are working on our transition to defense here. So Ventura's trying to get back, and that kind of overshoots the pressure, but he did force Torres to kind of lose some of his momentum. So we did disrupt the attack a little bit. He's going to have to recover now and try to either get back on the pressure or rotate. I mean, this might be a good opportunity if we're playing like Omaha, this player might rotate in now that, this kind of naturally flows this way. But that's not going to happen here, and we're going to get scored on, and it's because we're ball watching in this play. So this is the biggest thing that I think, the Bucks are starting to learn from. As we drop back, we've got three defenders who are not in any kind of defensive zone, and we've got this player here threatening. And just watch as Torres, basically, you think about it as one player takes one space, the other player that's already there might rotate out of it. And in soccer, you might really talk about, just pass to him. Like, why are you dribbling right to where he is? Just pass to him. But that's not how it really flows in this indoor format of soccer. So instead of passing to him, he's going to continue to take the ball, and he's going to rotate outside and just look at everybody. So I think this is Brian Vasquez. Does a great job of recovering and getting back on the pressure, forcing Torres to not make a shot here. But we've got these two heads. This is what we pointed out when we watched. These two guys are ball watching here. They're both looking here. They're in the same space, so they're not being very effective at all. And this guy, meanwhile, freely rotates out. Definitely needed this player who was already back to be marking on him. And instead, he gets that free pass. It goes off of the wall, and just kind of a tough reaction here from the keeper. I mean, almost not expecting it to bounce back off of the wall. And he gets caught out of position as the rebound is free, and it goes in the back of the net. So this is the biggest thing that we kind of talked about. And I mean, I can just pull up the third game, and just almost at any moment in our initial defense, just looking at the difference in how we set it up. And of course, there's not a single moment that I can just click to where we're on defense.
That's us.
So
Oh,
we're in white. I don't think I want to show us getting scored on. But even on attack, we're more marked. We're hoping for the best and preparing for the worst. That was the thing, is we don't want to get caught, because just in case, like Coach said, it was just in case this doesn't go our way, we don't want to be, caught out. We want to be prepared for this. So keeping the ball here, I mean, we had a lot of possession here in the first couple of quarters at least. Kept the ball moving. And let's see if we've got something on defense here as they have the
ball. Honestly, in this third game, it felt almost like the Bucks were playing. The Bucks were the better team in the first quarter, is what it felt like.
Oh yeah,
they had more opportunities. It just was frustrating because, especially, it felt like the Bucks started the game with like 5 or 6 really good opportunities and put in 2 of them.
Yeah,
and that the Kings had 3 opportunities, but put in 2 of them. So
right.
it was just, they capitalized on their opportunities a little bit better. And it wasn't even like an execution thing. Like some of the, I know at least one of them was just a really good save by the keeper. And what are you going to do when a dude does that? So, this first quarter, like you were saying, lots of possession. They were able to, I think you said right off the bat, we got a power play really early on. And I really liked how we were able to slow it down, how we were able to pass the ball around and think and look for a good play. We weren't flustered. We weren't trying to rush anything. We were being smart. We were being deliberate.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess, with this quick freeze frame, as we saw, just before this pause, the Kings had the ball and they're trying to move through the space. They're doing these rotations. This player was full speed rotating through, and we're marking him. We're on him now. This is Zuckweiler that we've got marked. Zuckweiler, the leading point person in the league now.
Zuck.
The Zuck with 11 points. So clearly a threat that we want to not allow. But look how close we're marked. Even on those rebounds, we're right here on these dangerous guys.
Show that shot and look at the shot that we force them into, because we have great marking. They don't have anything. They have nothing. And so they just crank an outside shot that not only does it go high, the goalie's all over it, keeper's all over it, because he can see it. There's nothing that's catching him by surprise, because everything is taken care of in front of him. All he has to do is focus on the ball.
Yep. Defend the shot. It's our job it's the defender's job to defend the pass.
Even if that shot is on target from all the way out there, the goalie's right there. His hand is right under the or right under the bar, right as it bounces off, just in case it's there. I mean, that's what good defending does. It forces them into looks that they don't want. And that was because not only were we marked on the back end, as soon as that ball was put into play, we had pressure on it. They had to pass it once or twice between each other. And then we're like, nah, we're just going to rip one from here because there's nothing down there. We don't want to give up the ball up here and give up a break the other way. We're just going to take our shot and move on. And as a defensive unit, you'll take that every single day of the week.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And we're pressuring high here, rotating through number 7 here, even as he rotates around. This is Vasquez again. Number 7 here rotates around Vasquez, but gets picked up by number 15 back here. And then we're just quick in transition, trying to just keep that control, keep that ball as we go forward. Let's pull up a goal real quick just before we move on, so that we can see, because we had some pretty ones. And of course, I don't have my preview anymore. I can't see exactly where we're at. Oh, this is perfect. This is one of our better plays that we had. This is that give and go. We've got 3 players here. I don't even know where the third is right now, but
He's in front of he's just behind the player on the left. Yep, right there. 1. Yep, right behind him. 2 to your left of your cursor. Yep. See him?
no, this is what I was looking for. This guy that's coming in here.
Oh, I see.
So we got 3 players on the right that just don't even end up being part of this play because we've got this great chemistry. This is Tapia up here, number 16. I don't remember his name, but check out this play. I mean, so the pressure comes in, and I'll let it play through, and then we can go back. But a really creative, Cruyff here from Tapia, and then off of the wall rebound. Tapia ends up scoring this, but
and my comment on this was not only was the give and go great and the speed with which the play happened. What I really liked about the goal was if you look on the give and go, he loses the ball is loose, and he just throws his feet at it. When
yes.
the ball is loose in a dangerous place like that, we got to be better at not giving up and being aggressive and getting either your foot in front of a clear, getting your body in front of a clear, throwing your foot in the direction that'll make the ball go towards the net. You never know with deflections, with the keeper might be on the ground for whatever reason. And that's exactly what happens here. He throws his feet towards the ball, and because it's in a dangerous area, he's rewarded with a goal.
Right. And on both sides of the ball too, when we're on defense, got to get in front of those and just get a foot on it, get it out of there.
Don't be afraid to sacrifice your body.
Yeah. So play around here. I mean, the pressure comes in, immediate pressure is going to rotate through. So just like Coach talked about what we're trying to do, he's talking about, this is what the Kings are doing. They're trying to limit our time and space on the ball, but immediately this give and go, number 16 just hustles in on this rotation, and great creativity from Tapia here to just send that around as number 16 makes this arching run. He comes towards goal, but then he cuts back out to this dangerous front left area. This is something that a lot of these teams are doing really well at, is exposing these walls right here. This is a
flat right in front of right next to the goal.
This is where they want to hang out. So he gets into this space, and then he's able to, a little bit of a, I'm not sure if he just plays this off the wall, if he goes for a shot, or if it's just, part of the defense that comes in, 1v1 right here in this corner. But the ball comes through, across, bit of a rebound, and then Tapia the whole way. He just played that ball from over here. And now because this space is occupied, just like those rotations we're talking about, he plays it here, rotates in, he's into Tapia's space. Tapia is now going to rotate out of that space.
That freeze frame. We have 3 players around the ball, and only one of them. Even if this ball gets blocked, as long as the keeper doesn't pick it up, this is going to be a goal almost no matter what, because the one player for their team that is actually on the ball is contested and loses his footing during this. So the aggression of not giving up onto the play until they actually know it's over. You've got 3 white jerseys right there to clean up if this other attempt doesn't go in. And that's exactly what you want to see. You want to cover those bases. You want to be ready for those rebounds and create extra opportunities.
Yeah. We do have a hidden Kings player right back here, but 3v2 in this box, collapsing on the space, and ball goes in the back of the net. Goalie wants to complain about it. That's that physicality we want to see. Jump in there, win that ball. And, even if it is a foul, we like to see it, honestly.
We like to see fouls when it's trying to do something smart like that, like playing the ball in a dangerous area like that in front of the net. Yeah, if you get a foul, that's fine. If it's not a foul in the middle of the field with a broken play where you're giving them something out of nothing. No, you're trying to make a play, and playing hard and getting a foul is never something I'm going to criticize about.
Yeah. And the important thing to note here is that one of the best players in the league, Manuel Lira, for the Kings, leads in fouls right now. As much as we want to reduce fouls, we can
Big
also
physical guy.
we can take a note out of his book and say, look how hard he's working out here. You know, maybe we take some of those fouls and we figure out how to defend the shootout. Yeah, so I think that really that kind of sums it up for the Bucks. I mean, we're looking forward to Chicago tomorrow night. Lima plays Chicago in Chicago at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. So definitely something to tune in for. Grand Rapids will host the Cleveland Crunch. We have not seen Cleveland. I'm sorry, I just got an image of Captain Crunch in my head off of that name. That's Cleveland Crunch. Very interesting. But we have not seen Cleveland yet. So interesting to see what Cleveland can bring, especially against Grand Rapids, who were also in the finals last year, lost to Omaha. Have had a great start so far. So that'll be Sunday at noon, our time, noon Mountain. Chicago plays tomorrow night at 6. So that's your action for the weekend. And then next weekend, next Saturday, 8 o'clock, back at Foothills Fieldhouse, Bucks are hosting Chicago.
Pretty exciting stuff. I can't wait to be back in that arena and be able to, watch this team with 3 games under their belt.
Yeah. Yeah, same. Shall we segue?
We're here now. Segue to what? We're already in the Rapid segment, and you didn't even know we did it.
Look at you rocking it in the background. Do you want to break the news?
Sure, I'll break the news. So the Colorado Rapids have made some off-season moves and have officially signed Zach Steffen off. He is a men's national team keeper, and he is now the Rapids keeper. Exciting stuff. We have, he's got real experience in both the MLS and at the national level. He was most recently with Man City, right?
He went from the MLS to the Premier League with Manchester City, but he hasn't played too much for them. And this is where it's a wild card for me. He's been out on loan from Manchester City and now back into the MLS. So whether this is a step back or a continuing of the building career, jury's out. We'll have to see.
Definitely needed to hear that because our goaltender from the last 2 years, William Barbaro, has moved on. And I expect him to play well because he played well for us. But again, just moving on with this whole theme of wholesale rechange of this team, retool, you get rid of the head coach, you change a whole bunch of stuff. Goalkeeper is a key component, and happy to have that sorted out for at least the next few years. And then it looks like the Rapids are working on another large signing that would actually be the largest signing in club history, looking like for another U.S. men's national team member, Dijord Mihailovic. I probably butchered that, I think. They are nearing a deal. There's nothing official yet. But that was some big news when Dijord announced that he was eyeing a move to the MLS. The Rapids were rumored to be in one of the top 3 teams and seem to have been narrowed down to his selection, barring any issues with negotiations, which it seems like they're in the midst of right now.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff. We've got some experience. We've got some, U.S. national players coming in, and we're getting rid of, some guys that have been with the club around for a bit. Haven't really seen too much of them. We're saying goodbye to Danny Wilson and Sam Nicholson. Players that just really, I think there's a split in the Rapids community about how they've been performing. And, I know that there's been a lot more hate on Danny Wilson in the last couple of years. So I'm sure that there are plenty of Rapids fans that are relieved to see that. Sam Nicholson, I think was kind of a toss up. I think there's, you either love him or you hate him kind of thing. or he's just kind of there. So changing it up, with this new coach, Armas, right?
Yep.
Yep. And
Chris
getting
Armas.
some new legs, and then also working with our youth program, and we got the Rapids too that have been doing pretty well. So I think that we've got a young, fresh team looking to make some early statements, but also to build towards something over the next 5 years, maybe.
Yeah, I like the introduction of second teams and just being able to follow your team's future essentially for those people. It's the same thing as, the hockey's AHL affiliates, the same
Right.
thing as minor leagues in baseball.
Right.
Just a little bit more accessible to figure out what a long-term plan is, for players, and also just knowing what assets you have, because we all know in pro sports, just because the player's on the team doesn't mean their value is on the field. So, I think that's really cool to see the Rapids too playing well, especially at a time where there's so much turnover going on with the main club. There's probably a pretty good chance that a lot of those guys might get a chance to, show what they've got.
Quick note. Actually, did we talk about our draft picks? Did we do that on the last episode?
I don't think so.
So we had a decent draft. I think we got 6 players. But our first rounder is the one that we'll talk about. His name is Wayne something. I don't have him pulled up on the news for the Rapids. So interesting call by the Rapids. But Wayne from Duke, at the college level, Duke has been pretty solid. And so getting this guy Wayne in here again, bringing in some of that youth talent to really, or young talent to bring us up to a, to something good. And then my other quick note is on the country side of our club and country show here. The biggest international news, I think, that is, coming up and in the works is the upcoming Africa Cup of Nations. We're not going to jump into it tonight, but I'm willing to bet on our next episode or the one after, we'll probably dive in as we get into the playoff section of it. I mean, there's so many teams. It's group stage stuff right now. We don't need to jump in there. But as we really get into some of those top teams over in Africa, we might jump into it a little bit, kind of preview some stuff, talk about it a little bit. There's some exciting players over there. My boy Mo Salah from Liverpool, competing for Egypt. So excited about that. So that is it. That is our club. That is our countryside of the club and country.
Yes, and now that we are through the holiday season, we are planning on doing shows weekly, covering both the Rapids and the Bucks on the club side. And once we have things to talk about, you can absolutely stop by here to get your men's and women's national team news as it comes through.
Do you think that we'll do, because the Bucks don't even play next week? So do we talk about the Bucks next week?
I mean, we could preview. We didn't talk very much about what we want to see from Chicago. We talked a lot more about what we've seen. We can preview Bucks, and we can talk Rapids, and you can talk about your nations. Again, it doesn't. If any of these teams, we don't have to. We can talk about one topic for an hour if we want. It doesn't even have to be an hour. It could be 30 minutes if we want.
I will come prepared. I'll watch some Chicago this weekend.
Chicago. All right. Well, that's going to do it for the second episode of Club and Country. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you missed the interview with Colorado Bucks head coach Cole Chapleski, go ahead and check that out, YouTube and Facebook, and we will catch you guys on our next episode. Have a good night, everybody.
Peace.